One of the most fascinating things about the human voice is the way that the tongue moves. There's lots of muscles connected to the tongue. It's fascinating. So we've got muscles that join from the tip of the tongue. They go right through the top of the tongue and join into here, what's called the styloid process. We've got lots of muscles that go from the root of the tongue to the chin, from the root of the tongue down into the larynx. We've got muscles that go from the larynx up to there as well. There's lots of muscular work going on. In fact, we've got muscles that go from the tongue up to the roof of the mouth too. We've even got muscles within the tongue that allows all the different movements that the tongue needs. Now, as a singer, what we need to do is we need to get some control of the tongue, because what we do with it can seriously affect the quality of our sound and also the effectiveness of our voice. We all know this anyway, because if I said to you, poke your tongue out and say ah, you get a ah sound, right? Ah. You poke your tongue out, it goes ah. And clearly the sound that I produced then was very different from the sound that I'm using when I talk. And you also know that if you pull the tongue back into your throat, your voice would start to sound a little bit like that, a little bit unnatural as well. If I stiffen the root of the tongue, I get that kind of effect. So we all know that when we're moving our tongue and stiffening different parts of it, we get different sounds. So what do we want to do as a singer? Well, one of the things we want to do as a first stage is we want to get the back of the tongue, the root of the tongue and the dorsum up and out of the larynx, so the larynx has got space to move. The easiest way to do that is on an E vowel. And if you notice, E, that's why a lot of vocal coaches, a little bit of an inside scoop for you, a little bit of a trade secret. That's why a lot of the exercises that you see with singing coaches, they'll use the E vowel because it's the easiest one to get the tongue up at the back. Now, the problem is you've got vowels that are forward and backwards, back vowels. So you've got E, ah, that sort of sound. And then we've got oh, ooh, which are back vowels. And what we want to do is we want to get the back vowels more forward a little bit. If you were to just simply go e-or, 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 you'll feel the back of the tongue going up and down. Pardon me. And what that does is it means that as you're going up, if we move from there and we suddenly move into an or sound like you're singing lyrics, you get e-or. It may do that to you, especially when you're getting up. E-or, e-or. It'll do that to you and break. And that's simply because the tongue at the back has dropped. It's moved a little bit. So there's a couple of things we want to do with that. The first thing we want to do is get the tongue up and out of the throat so that when we're moving into high notes, the larynx can come up and fill that space a little bit. If we're pushing down with the root of the tongue by trying to create extra tone by pushing from the back of the tongue, that you won't get your high notes. The second thing we want to do is we want to blend the back vowels and the front vowels so that we have equal sort of tone. One of the things that you'll see on a really good instrument is no matter which note they're singing, there's a sense of consistency with the sound. So if you're playing a grand piano, for instance, you don't want the high notes to be more brittle than, say, the mid notes and the bass ones to be out as well. You want this nice even blend. And we want that with the voice too. The problem is when you're singing certain words, you may get certain phrases where every time you hit that particular vowel, the tone of the voice will change. And I've seen that a stack in the coaching. That's actually a pretty common thing that we've got to fix up. So if I was singing a song like Happy Birthday to You, some people will kind of give you that kind of happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, and you'll hear that different shift in the tonal quality. So I hope that's helped. I hope that's cleared up a little bit of things with the tongue. Oh, one thing, what do we want to do with the tongue? In the first stage is what we want to do is we want to keep it nice and flat this way, a little bit elevated at the back, and get the edges of the tongue pressed on the premolars just a little bit. The premolars are the two rows of teeth just behind the canines. So your basic position for your tongue is about there. And if you feel when you're singing, you feel it starting to bind up or group or pull back, you want to kind of deal with that and relax it. How can you relax it? Just run your tongue around your teeth a little bit, shake it out, and be mindful of where you're feeling the tension in the tongue. Over time, you'll start to discover it. Hope that helps. I'll chat to you soon. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, head across to vocalpro.com.au for even more great content. And on Facebook, search for Vocal Pro and like the page because the fun continues there as well.